Hi, hello everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Acting from All Angles, sponsored by Actors in Action, where we empower the passionate actor with the craft and skill to have a serious career, which is very exciting. Today, we're going to be talking about how to deal with the unprepared actor. But first, let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Julianne Lichty Stratton, and I am the creator of Actors in Action. And today, we are super lucky because we have Michelle Wilson, one of my advanced actors, who's going to be talking about some of her experiences, which I think are really, really helpful. So Michelle is a fantastic actress. She has been taking my classes for what over 2 years now. Yeah, and just made tremendous progress and works a lot and is a dear friend as well as one of my actors I train. We've been doing some fun projects together. So the reason I brought Michelle in is because I know we've talked in the past that she's had some experiences on set, showing up and having other actors really unprepared. And for the actor, that can be so discombobulating. I'm sure some of you have had experiences with that. You show up on set, you're ready to go, you've got your lines, you're all that kind of stuff, and then one of the other actors, doesn't know their lines or is completely unable to bring it or whatever. So we're really going to explore, what do you do? How do you handle that? Because you can sabotage it, and then it's going to be even worse for you and worse for them. And how can you be supportive in what you do? So Michelle, why don't you talk a little bit about some of your experiences you've had with that?
Well, first of all, being prepared and showing up on set is so critical. And I always look at it as it's showtime for you, and you better have all your eggs in order. And it's, you've prepared from training properly, probably is the most important thing, in that we learn to do scripts, whatever. If it's a one line, if it's 20 lines, whatever it is, you've got to run, for example, the last thing that I did, it was 4 pages. Okay, 4 pages of dialogue between three actors. And so you have to know, or I do know, you should familiarize yourself. Okay, how does it go on set if you're not familiar? Well, first of all, there's going to be a long shot, which means entails the three actors, a two shot, and a close up of each of the actors. Now, there's a certain flow to a script, or how, if you've been trained properly, you know that you need to do the script from top to bottom. Okay, so page 1 to page 4, you run the whole thing through without stopping, and that's their long shot. And then, in editing, they're going to splice it together and put however, so close up, 2 shot, 3 shot, whichever. And then that's how it flows. Now, like I said, important to run top to bottom because there's a certain flow to the script. And your interaction with that other character is so critical. Plus, your cue lines are the last sentence of whatever that other person is saying. So very critical that they've got it all down. So when someone doesn't know their line and you're starting, and this just took place a bit ago, and all of a sudden it throws the whole thing off. The whole essence of the scene is gone. All the things that you've put your time and energy into working on now can't work because there is one individual that is not prepared, can't remember their lines, and all of a sudden, if they can't remember your line, how do you get your cue? You don't. So the flow of feeling your other actor, which is what you've got to do, you've got to feel and react off of them, is lost. So
That must be really frustrating
well,
to come and have that. So how do you deal with that frustration? What do you
okay,
do? I mean,
so
you want to smack them, right? Like,
you want to
what's
smack
wrong
them,
with
you want to give a look, but you zip it. It's not your position or job to do that. It's the director's. So the director, I've seen in the past, actually in LA, they've thrown somebody off the set. Goodbye, you're out of here. We don't, we're paying 50 other people on set right now, and you're screwing this all up for everybody. So that doesn't fly. On this particular incident, I zipped it. I was giving an eye contact actually to the other actress that knew her lines. And, we just blanked. We knew I didn't need to make a face or say anything. It was up to the director. So the director was the kindest nicest man you have ever encountered.
I'm really impressed with what I heard about this director.
And how he handled it, took her aside, tried to help give her an easier line, and everything. And then we ended up just doing a close-up, and he had to feed her each line. And then we were running out of time, and so my line was delivered that way as well. But, I was trying at that moment to put out a positive vibe, because I wanted her to do well so we could make the scene work.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's not going to work. And so I tapped her in the back. It's okay, you just have to be encouraging. And then we just stood there in silence, basically, as you should do, because it's the director's decision and job to handle it however he's going to handle it. And this particular one was amazing. I was like blown away how wonderful he was.
I just want to jump in a little bit,
Okay.
and pepper this with things that I remember you've told me about these past incidents and stuff. But it's so important on set. So to have this flow, if you don't have a flow, you're not going to be able to really get the scene going, right? And if something is going wrong on set, which something always goes wrong on set, it's really the director who is the helm of the set. And if they can keep their cool and keep everything going and keep people encouraged, it's going to help everybody else. Had the director had a fit and gotten mad at the other actor or whatever, it could have really ruffled you guys
Everybody.
even more,
Yeah.
more than you are, right? So I think that's, for the directors out there, it's really important to be able to handle that. So I think, so it's interesting. So they didn't really get a long shot of you guys, right?
They got
sort of a little bit,
maybe one line, but we had 4 pages.
Yeah. So they didn't quite get that. And then
Correct.
It sounds like they just fed you the lines. They did
Right.
a close up on you, and they told you your cue lines, and you
Cue
said
line,
them.
right.
And the other actor, they fed the lines to them so that they would know what to say. So
Mhm.
they had stuff to kind of wait from and
Right.
maybe to get the scene. But the concerning part is Michelle going to get this beautiful scene that she worked so hard on for her reel? She probably got little snippets, but is she going to have something really great? And that's what's frustrating, because the other person wasn't that prepared and they didn't really do the full fleshed out scene.
Right. And I don't know why, because, we're all trained, hopefully. And I don't think she realized how it affected everybody, because, it's like I enjoy working so much, and I want that clip. I want different clips of different characters for my reel.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's salvageable at this point.
Right. And so and you'll never really know until,
Right.
unless they reshoot it
So
or
I'm,
see the film.
I'm sad.
Yeah, I know, which is hard. So,
but-
I want to do the flip. I want to talk about the flip side of this, that one time I showed up on set very unprepared. It was a horrific experience. I had booked a Hallmark movie, and I was playing a school counselor, and I thought I had a whole week until I was shooting. So I was like, I don't need to memorize it. I don't need to work on it. First huge mistake. The second you get that script, the second you get booked, you get off book. You memorize that scene, so you know it, right? So that was my first mistake. Secondly, so I thought it was a week away. That night, I get an email from the production coordinator saying, hey, we need you on set tomorrow at 8:30, whatever your call time. And I was like, what? No. I'm doing next, whatever. Because I thought that's what my agent had sent me. Which they maybe did, but I had gotten another email from production saying, oh, we're changing your date. And I didn't read my email thoroughly. Second mistake, that was probably the first mistake, actually. I should have read the email. Well, no, I should have started memorizing and then read the email, right? So I showed up on set, and I had about, 2 pages of dialogue and a page and a half. And I'm not a fast memorizer. So I stayed up all night trying to memorize it. And I got on set and I was flustered, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I was mortified. So I was that person that was unprepared, mortified. And I was working with an actress who is quite well known and quite professional and great. And she was so gracious to me. She was like, you got this. This is great. Sounds like she was like what you were. And the director was very gracious. And I got through it. I somehow got through it, and I did it. But I know that that director will never call me in again to work with him, because I botched it. I screwed it up. And I know that, and I'm sad about that, and that's too bad. And it was a hard day. It was so stressful. It was just horrible. So
you brought it on yourself.
I did, and I tried to do the best I could, and I told them, I'm so sorry. I thought we were shooting next week, and Great excuse, but does it matter? No.
No.
No. Your job as an actor is to show up on set, off book, rip roaring ready to go, be sweet, be nice, be directable, right? So because you're gonna let other actors down and it's gonna be really sad for them. So and a lot of some actors just don't know that. They're so green, they don't realize they have to show up on set. I'll give one other example too, before I want to get back to you, Michelle, and talk a little bit more about this. So I also direct, and I'd written this short film which I was acting in and I was directing, and I had an actor that I really liked, and I cast him as my opposite guy, and so I was wearing lots of hats. I was directing, I was acting, blah blah blah. We got on set, we went to do this, and he didn't know his lines either. And so here I am, the director and the actor, trying to deal with this, and it was really hard. And I was not as gracious as your director. I mean, I was kind and sweet, but you could tell I was like, ah, I was so upset inside. So I guess we can talk about briefly. We kind of touched on it, but what can you do to prepare? We have like a minute or two left here. What can you do to make sure you are rock solid when you go on set? And then again, just reiterate, what do you do when somebody else isn't? When they're not prepared, you're kind to them, you are patient with them, you don't roll your eyes and gossip about them behind the back or anything like that. You just show up and you do your job. So, Michelle, what do you do, just in a nutshell, to make sure you're rock solid when you go on set?
I absolutely am crazy memorizing, and over and over and over and over. And I make my kids read with me, and I walk through the house. I do chores and do the lines. I run the lines. And so what you have to also do is you need to know your cue from the other character. So sometimes in a play, you've got to know everybody's dialogue. You have to know everybody's. So I'll walk through, I'll fold laundry, and I'll keep saying it over and over out loud. And then again, rehearse, like I said, with someone, so they're reading the other line, and you know, and you just solidify that in your head, that that's your cue for whatever, you know, the next line's going to be.
And let me interject too, that once you get on set, they're going to give you blocking. So you're going to be moving around, even if you're sitting down, but they're like, here, pick up the coffee cup here, and da 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 da. And that's going to throw you off. So if you don't know your lines like backwards and forwards, it's gonna be hard.
And that's why I think, you know, seriously, walking around, doing tasks, which you taught us a couple years ago. Do something. Don't just sit there, you know, looking at the wall, reading your lines. You've got to be able to walk through the house, walk upstairs, do tasks while you're saying everything, because that's going to get it in there.
Yeah, so that's really important. And then secondly, just to reiterate basically what you were saying, is if you are on set with somebody who is unprepared, just to be as gracious and supportive and as kind as you can to them.
Send out good vibes. You've got to, because that's...
Hey, do you want to run lines? Hey, do you want to da-da-da?
And there's no need to ever make a face or a stink, because don't you think everyone else on that set sees what's happening? So if you zip it, you are professional.
You're professional, and you come across as a trooper that can handle a difficult situation.
Right.
So yeah. So that's it for today. Thank you so much, Michelle, for showing up and doing this. We're at my lovely studio right now. We're not at my home office. We're at the studio, which is coming along, and we're remodeling it, and it's really fantastic. But I just wanted to say, so to piggytail on this, is next week we're going to talk about memorization. I'm going to talk about at least 4 different techniques for memorization. Okay? So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to go into depth so that you can be super prepared. And we're also going to talk about the week after, probably we're going to talk about the apps you can use to practice memorizing your lines. There's several out there. I'll review them. We have a question from Clarissa before we go. She says, how typical is it to be expected to show up with the right attire? That's one of my nightmares. Is it common to do a table read before the shooting? How common are script changes late in the game? And what's the best strategy? And there's even more. You know what, Clarissa? Those are excellent questions, each of them in and of their own, for their own Facebook Live. So I want you to tune in, and I will answer all of those. I'll just answer the first one. The typical attire, the right attire. So usually, most of the time, if it's a higher budget, they're going to just completely outfit you, wardrobe you. They're going to call you in for a wardrobe fitting. You're going to get stuff. If it's a smaller budget, sometimes they'll ask you to bring in stuff, and they'll usually ask you to bring in like
choices.
Yeah, 3 to 5 outfits, different things.
And it's funny knowing what your character is. They ended up using some of my clothes because they loved it, and it was just something that I picked that suited this character.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. And she goes, "Oh no, this is better
Lots
than
of animal print, right? Am I right?
always." Anyway, so yeah, and they'll let you know ahead of time as well. The wardrobe lady for sure will let you know days ahead.
Yeah.
Of, you know, prepare, this is what we want, this is how we probably want your hair, so you know how to curl it, etc.
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing is to bring in many choices, 3 to 5. Probably. Okay, thank you so much for watching Acting from All Angles. Thanks
Thank
again
you.
to Michelle. We're so excited. If you have any other questions, let us know. We want to help you out. We want to make you fantastic actors who can have fantastic careers. All right, adios. We'll see you next
Bye.
week. Bye.